Jake Paul has signed up to do an MMA fight against Nate Diaz, which, as someone who's a fight fan, was very surprising to me. We've seen over the past few years the rise in popularity of content creators participating in boxing matches against other content creators and retired UFC veterans, but we have never seen a content creator MMA match, or at least one where a content creator is actually matching a high-level MMA fighter in Nate Diaz. Now, I've watched Nate Diaz's career over the UFC from the beginning when he won the TV show The Ultimate Fighter, all the way up until now. He's had a long history of winning some big matches like against Conor McGregor, but also losing quite a few as well, and along the way taking plenty of brain damage. But even though these two just fought in a boxing match and Jake Paul won by decision, I'm still mildly interested in seeing how this plays out in MMA, and I think a lot of you out there watching will agree. It's at least interesting to wonder what will happen, because we can assume that while Jake does have good striking experience in boxing, the stance that you use when you fight in MMA is wildly different, which will make you susceptible to leg kicks or takedowns. But weirdly enough, that's kind of why this is a perfect matchup, at least in Jake's mind, I imagine, because Nate Diaz doesn't really do leg kicks and he also doesn't do takedown. Nate's style has always been striking, and if he gets taken down, he will use jiu-jitsu. So I'm sure it's a pretty easy strategy for Jake to go in there and try and just go and punch him and treat it like it's a boxing match. But what I'm curious about is how Nate will strategize this one, realizing that he just lost a striking match against Jake Paul. Will he actually try to utilize some different techniques to throw Jake off and make it much more of an MMA fight than a striker's fight, or a boxing fight that is? I'm just curious of the unknown. What's it going to look like? MMA is Nate Diaz's bread and butter. This is how he's built his name up his entire career. Millions of fans across the world. It would be a huge loss and a really sad blow if he lost an MMA match versus someone that's never fought in professional MMA before. Even if they do have a lot of experience in striking, as Jake Paul does, and even had some high school wrestling, I believe, as well. Even with all that combat sport experience, it would be incredibly embarrassing to lose an MMA match to Jake Paul, which is actually what makes this really exciting in my opinion. Not only is there an element of a clash of styles where I'm sure Jake is going to be going for striking only, but on top of that, you have the element of the difference in gloves. Professional boxing gloves are significantly bigger and more padded, whereas MMA, they use 4-ounce gloves with minimal padding on them, which means that throwing punches is going to feel and have a very different dynamic to it. And that dynamic has historically proven to be very difficult for people transitioning from boxing to MMA. There have been some successful boxers that did transition to MMA, but for the most part, the stylistic differences are so different that you find a lot of your skills don't cross over as much as you'd thought. That you'll find that the skills that you built up don't really cross over as much as you'd originally think, which is why conversely, all of these retired UFC fighters that are fighting Jake Paul in boxing are losing, because all of these MMA style striking skills that they've built up don't apply in boxing, and so naturally they lose the matches versus these content creators, or at least against Jake Paul specifically. But now with an even playing field, an actual MMA fight, this is going to be really interesting to see the outcome. Not only is it interesting for the outcome, but it'll be interesting for the future of these sort of content creator, celebrity combat sports events. If this is a big success and a lot of people watch this, we might see the content creator community transition from holding boxing matches over to MMA matches, which as a lifelong MMA fan, I'm definitely interested in. Let me know your thoughts about that down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button and click on the screen here to watch another video from the channel. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.